The fear of failure is a behavior we often acquire later in life. We are influenced by society and people, and schools frequently play a significant role. When we fail in a certain subject, our families punish us. When we fail at school, our teachers punish us. When we fail at work, our managers and companies punish us. These external suggestions that seep into our subconscious make us fear failure because we fear the consequences and people's judgment. However, if we reach a stage where we are not afraid of failure at all, we will achieve success. Welcome to your channel, Growth Galore, for book explanations. The title of the 7th chapter was Failure is the Road to Success. Failure is part of success, and I am genuinely terrified of failure. Mark Manson uses the example of a child. When a child first starts to walk, they always fall to the ground. With each fall, they feel pain, landing face down or hurting their hands or legs. Despite this, they continue to stand up and try walking again. Why? Because they are not afraid of falling and failing. Mark Manson says, if we look at the mind of any child, they do not say, "Oh no, I just tried to walk and fell, hurting my head or my face. I don't need to try again." No, they keep trying until they succeed in walking. Imagine if a child were to start a specific brand. They would try 90 or 100 times until they succeed. This is the phase of understanding failure. No matter how much you fail at something you want to achieve in your life, be like a child. Failure is the path to success. It is one of the ways that lead to success. For example, if your goal is in a certain place and there are 4 ways to reach it, failure is one of them and possibly the best one. Mark Manson says, the fear of failure is a behavior we often acquire later in life. We are influenced by society and people, and schools frequently play a significant role. When we fail in a certain subject, our families punish us. When we fail at school, our teachers punish us. When we fail at work, our managers and companies punish us. These external suggestions that seep into our subconscious make us fear failure because we fear the consequences and people's judgment. However, if we reach a stage where we are not afraid of failure at all, we will achieve success. In the 8th chapter, Mark Manson discusses the importance of saying no, the importance of rejecting something. In this chapter, Manson wanted to convey the message that honesty is important, but it should not reach the level of rudeness, nor should it be so courteous that it creates false realities. He said, "My current wife and I live by this principle. She is someone who cares a lot about her appearance. When we decide to go out somewhere, she takes a long time to get ready, between showering and putting on makeup and so on, and then she comes to me and asks, 'What do you think of my appearance?' If I find something I don't like at all, I tell her, 'No, your appearance is not entirely good.' Mark says she sometimes gets upset and yells, then goes back in, changes her look, and comes out again. The nice thing about it is that we are honest with each other. She knows very well that I will never flatter her. If someone knew I did this, they might say, 'You are stupid, you are crazy.' But if I told her she looked beautiful in every situation, that would never be good. Why? Because even though these things are simple, honesty improves her and makes her better. Therefore, it is important to tell her no to improve her condition. It is important to tell her no if what she is doing is not beautiful or not good, and not flatter her so that she can improve and develop. She also treats me the same way. If she sees something wrong, she tells me, 'No, I don't like this.' He said he is deeply grateful to her because she often told him no. During the writing of this book, she was completely honest with him, even though her no bothered him a lot. How could she say that the part he wrote was not beautiful, that it was wrong, or that his words were trivial? But he listened to her and always made changes to improve, and thanks to the annoying no, he authored this book in the best possible way. Therefore, it is important to say no when you need to say no. For example, if someone asks you, "What do you think? Should I start this project? What do you think of the idea?" If you see that it is not useful, tell him no. Or if someone says to you, "I have started a project in this thing," if you see it is wrong, tell him no. If someone offers you an idea to adopt or to meet a certain friend or to apply to a certain company for work, if it is not suitable, tell him no, because he will always rethink and achieve better results. It is easy for someone to tell you no, and it is easy for someone to give you their honest opinion. However, it is very difficult for the recipient to accept this with good grace. Therefore, my advice to you, dear follower, is that if someone gives you their opinion politely, accept it with good sportsmanship and consider that this opinion may be the correct one that could improve your situation. The ninth and final chapter, and the conclusion of this enjoyable book. The title of this chapter is "And Then You Die." The points Mark Manson addresses in this chapter are as follows. Once I traveled to South Africa and my friends and I went on a mountain climbing trip. I happened to reach the summit before them. When I reached the summit, there was a group of tourists. The summit was a coastal edge ending at the ocean. No one dared to approach this edge. No one dared to approach death or even risk being at this point. But I decided to take this risk and started moving towards that edge. With each step closer to the edge, my senses became more alert and active. My heart rate increased, my limbs started to stiffen, and I felt like I was gradually paralyzing. The fear of death was the reason behind this, and every time I reached a point, I would say, "That's enough here." I would struggle internally and say, "Take 2 more steps." The closer I got to the edge, the shorter and slower my steps became. Every time I reached a point, I would say, "This is enough." I would struggle internally again and push myself further. Thoughts started accumulating in my mind. Maybe the wind will push me off. Maybe I'll slip and fall and die. I imagined my end in various forms and scenarios. Eventually, I decided to go even further until I reached the very edge. I looked down and saw people appearing very tiny. I sat down and put my first foot over the edge, then the second. I was leaning on my hands and tilting my back slightly backward. The fear of death made me pull back a little until I reached a stage where I straightened up and started looking at life very differently, thinking deeply about the concept of death. Death is the scariest thing for any living creature, and what happened in those steps was that I fought the survival instinct and managed to reach a point where I could lose my life at any moment. After that, I started thinking about this terrifying phenomenon. Here, he begins to talk about 2 groups of people, those who are negatively influenced by death to the point of despair. They say, "Why bother with life? In the end, I will die. Why strive for a good job or an excellent income or build a good future, when in the end, I will die? On what basis should I marry? In the end, I will die." He says, there's a very strange paradox in this idea. If there is no reason to strive for anything in this life because you will ultimately die, then there is also no reason to do nothing because you will ultimately die. Think about it deeply. Both states are essentially the same. Therefore, I prefer to live a happy, joyful, and beautiful life filled with experiences, relationships, family, and children, rather than live a dull life until I die, since in the end I will die in both scenarios. He says, death is what gives everything value. If there were no death, you wouldn't fear fire, you wouldn't fear the plane crashing, and Mark Manson wouldn't fear the edge of the mountain. If there were no death, you wouldn't worry about your partner or children. If there were no death, you wouldn't strive to secure money for a living. Death is currently the aspect that gives everything value and gives your life personal value. Mark Manson says, "Death is what shapes your deepest motivations and values through which you want to live your life." Some people don't want to die until they establish a company, and some don't want to die until they do a charitable act that lasts beyond their death. If you ask yourself, you will find that death is the reason that made you shape what you want to achieve before you die. Some people leave an impact that lasts a day after their death. Some leave an impact that lasts a month. Some leave an impact that lasts a year. And some leave an impact that lasts even longer. Ask yourself the question posed by Mark Manson. What impact will you leave? What principles shaped by the fear of death will leave a lasting impact? And will that impact last long or not? Mark Manson says, "When you think about death and the idea that the only thing that will remain is your impact after death, you will question many of the principles you live by and ask yourself, are these truly the impacts you want to leave after you die or not?" Finally, after a long meditation session on this subject at that edge, I slowly pulled my leg back, lifted my other leg, and stood up very cautiously to avoid falling and plunging into the abyss. Afterward, I got up, and once I was sure I was standing firmly, I turned around calmly and walked back very quietly. The farther I got from the edge, the more my body and its systems returned to normal, my heartbeat slowed down, my focus and awareness decreased, and my tension eased. On my way back, someone saw me and asked, "Are you okay?" I looked at him and smiled. He asked me again, "Are you okay?" And I replied, "I am alive, completely alive." And that was the end of the book. Dear follower, this summary will never replace reading the book, as the book contains many examples that you might like and find more impactful. I hope you enjoyed this video and this wonderful book by Mark Manson. Stay tuned for our next video and a new, even more enjoyable book. If you are not subscribed to the channel, we hope you subscribe. Liking the video helps us and motivates us to provide more valuable and useful content. Thank you for listening attentively, and thank you for your invaluable time.